Before we start, do not forget to like, subscribe, and support the channel financially. Suddenly, one player approached and said, "Hello, Mr. Black Scythe. Would you, by any chance, consider joining our party?" But Rio said, with a voice and a look that would make people's asses pump water out of that hole, "No. Go away and don't waste my time." Dejected by the firm rejection, the players retreated with downcast faces, and that player said to himself he didn't even hesitate to reject us. How embarrassing. Damn, I was trying to get on Black Scythe's good side. The other players said to themselves, whoever gets to party with Black Scythe must be living the dream. Such thoughts circulated, but Ryu had no interest in these indecisive individuals. He already had a candidate in mind, and he said to himself, it's not about finding party members for this quest. Rather, it's about selecting the right people to fill the slots for the last round. These were connections that didn't exist in previous regressions. Originally, at this point, Ryu had never interacted with anyone, not Min Juri, not Seo Arin, not Ansang Cheol, and he said to himself back then, I would have accepted anyone to fill the slots. But now, plans have changed, because I needed to find people that would grow together with me. Although Rio rejected the former player's offer, some players did not give up and asked Rio to join, all in pursuit of obtaining the coveted blue chip, as the prospect of joining forces with the Black Scythe was, in essence, a guarantee of survival in this treacherous quest. But Rio rejected them, and one by one, those who suggested forming a party were quickly brushed aside. As word spread that the Black Scythe was declining all party invitations, the number of hopeful players diminished. Then one player said to himself, damn, won't he just accept anyone? He's being way too choosy. At least hear them out before saying no, another said. But aren't those guys next to him already in his party? They've pretty much secured their survival. And disheartened players distanced themselves from the Black Scythe. Those who had witnessed the rejections did not dare to try their luck and retreated voluntarily. At this point, Ryu's party members became curious and said to themselves, who would he possibly choose for that last spot? While the bodyguard was curious, he also felt a tinge of regret and said to himself, it would have been great if Master Ma was here in this section. If they were in the same zone, he would have actively recommended him without hesitation. Minjuri shared a similar sentiment, and she said to herself, if only Ryu Min were here, I would have passionately advocated for him to take the last spot. They each had someone in mind for that last spot, but the different zones made it impossible. Then a group approached Ryu, and one said, Mr. Black Scythe, it's a pleasure to meet you again. He was Jo Young-ho, and with a smile, Ryu said, I'm pleasantly surprised to see you here. I thought you might not make it past the 5th round. He laughed and said, really? Aren't you underestimating me a bit too much? Dealing with around 300 orcs was a walk in the park. It wasn't an empty boast. Jo Young-ho had safely passed the quest, ranking 125th among the 211 participants who reached the 5th round. And he added, I was inspired by your battles back then, which motivated me to finish the hunt quickly. Ryu said, is that so? Jo Young-ho said, either way, thank you. Thanks to you, my friend here also survived without a scratch. Then one of the players who had benefited from the Black Scythe's emergency treatment, Mangi, stepped forward, and he said, Mr. Black Scythe, I'm grateful for your help with my shoulder back then. Thanks to you, I could extend my lifespan like this. Ryu said, you managed to take down 300 with that body of yours. Mangi said, it's all thanks to you, Mr. Black Scythe. I'm truly grateful. You're my savior. And with a friendly gaze, Jo Young-ho turned to Ryu and asked, are you looking for party members? Ryu replied, that's right. Jo Young-ho added, you have 4 members now. Just one more, and you'll be set. Right? Ryu said yes. Then Jo Young-ho said, oh, please don't misunderstand. I'm not here to ask you to join our party. We've already completed our formation. Ryu said I wasn't. In fact, Ryu already knew that their party formation was complete. Golden chains on Jo Young-ho and his mercenaries' wrists served as proof. Then Ryu said, it seems you formed a party of 5 since you all have the correct number of members. And he asked straightforwardly, in that case, what was the reason for Jo Young-ho's visit? If you're not here to join our party, why did you seek me out? Jo Young-ho replied, well, out of goodwill, I wanted to greet you and make a suggestion. Ryu inquired, a suggestion? He said, our party and Black Scythe's party. How about forming an alliance together? At that moment, Ryu read his thoughts on what he meant by proposing an alliance. He was saying to himself, I'm not trying to benefit from him. Hope he understands that I'm just offering this with the intention of helping him a little bit. Perhaps grateful for the treatment of Mangi, Jo Young-ho is trying to help Black Scythe in some way. Then he said to Ryu, we're not asking you to join your party. We don't have any intention of seeking items or experience points. If we encounter the boss, we'll give you priority. We simply want to help. Please don't be too guarded. We mean it. Ryu sensed that Jo Young-ho wasn't trying to cling to him, but was genuinely offering assistance out of gratitude for his past aid in Choi Mangi's treatment. After a period of silence, Jo Young-ho seemed like he had been misunderstood and become wary. So Ryu decided to clear up the misunderstanding, and he said, I decline. Jo Young-ho was surprised and said, What? Why, oh, perhaps you're concerned that we might be a hindrance? Don't worry about that. We'll never be a burden. If you ever find us troublesome, you can simply, in front of the boss. Ryu interrupted his words, saying, It's not about that. I just don't like complications. I appreciate the offer, but I'll decline. Then Jo Young-ho said sadly, Oh, is that so? That's disappointing. We wanted to help. Ryu said, I'll ask for help when I really need it. Jo Young-ho perked up after receiving a positive response, and he said, Will you do that? And he added, So, if we're needed in the future, should you let us know? Ryu said, Yes. He asked, Is it a promise? Ryu replied, I said yes, didn't I? With a definitive response, Jo Young-ho broke into a satisfied smile. And he said, Since we have a promise, we'll take our leave now. We hope to meet again next time. Feel free to ask for help whenever you need it. Goodbye. After they leave, the bodyguard said, Mr. Black Scythe, it's time to make a decision. Who will fill the remaining spot? Ryu said, I've made my decision. And he pointed his finger in one direction. The gazes of his party members followed his finger. Then Ryu said, There, you, come here. The person singled out was taken aback. The person hesitantly approached, and Ryu said, You've been watching me for a while now, haven't you? He said, Yes. Ryu asked, Why? He hesitated, struggling to answer, and said, Well, I want to party with Mr. Black Scythe. Then Ryu asked, What's your level in class? He replied, I'm level 23, a black mage. Ryu said, Well, that probably doesn't matter much. And he added, I'll take this guy for the remaining spot. The bodyguard and the other party members were surprised, and they said to themselves, how could they choose a player who was rejected by others? But the most surprised person in the group was the chosen one, and he said to himself, the Black Scythe wants to include me in his party? Ryu was unexpectedly satisfied. After all, the young man before him was the potential leader of a cult that would worship the Black Scythe like a deity. And Ryu said to himself, in the future, if we form a strong bond, this guy could become a devoted follower. That young man's nickname was Aged Man No Gay, while his real name was Heo Taesok. Then Ryu said, so, let's form the party like this. As they silently memorized party formation, golden rings with engraved characters appeared on their wrists, and the Black Scythe's party had been formed. At that time, Aged Man No Gay never imagined that he would form a party like this. Then Ryu called out, saying, Aged Man No Gay. He inquired, yes? Ryu said, now that we're in a party, introduce yourselves. At the Black Scythe's command, Heo Taesok hesitated for a moment before speaking up, and he said, I'm Aged Man No Gay, level 23, a black mage. My skills are black arrows and black chains. At first, he stumbled over his words, but soon he found his voice. Then Minjuri said, nice to meet you, aged man. I'm a buffer level 21. I'll do my best to support you. Then Seo Arin and the bodyguard introduced themselves. After that, Ryu said, now that we've finished introductions, shall we go hunting? But Minjuri said, wait a moment. I'll cast buffs on everyone first. And she went on to cast buffs on her party members one by one. It was Blessin' Swift. And those who received the buffs couldn't help but be astonished. And they said, my attack and movement speed are 60% faster. Is this real? But Ryu Min remained composed. Then the bodyguard said, this is why the Black Scythe was always with Minjuri, right? Buffer, you're truly amazing. Minjuri smiled and said, why are you embarrassing me? Seeing this, Seo Arin spoke as if unable to contain her jealousy, and she said, don't forget to like, subscribe, and support the channel financially. And I would like to tell you that the events of the story have begun to develop, and this makes it difficult to create images with AI or find images that suit the story. I think that the upcoming parts will take longer than usual, but I will do my best so that they will not be too late.